Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Teresa Ronnie. I'm the head of brand and marketing in ProClime. It is my delight and my pleasure to put this panel together. Firstly, it's been a long time in the making, and I want to thank Kishore for patiently giving us a date and then trying to figure out a date, and Samrat for joining us. I'm going to make a quick round of introductions so that we are familiar with each other. Like I said, I'm Teresa Ronnie. I will be your moderator for the day. We have Kishore joining us from Microsoft India. Kishore is the head of CSR, but his core mission focus is AI-based skill development for communities that Microsoft champions. So it's a very interesting skill set that he brings into this discussion. He brings 9 years of work experience behind him. He's an ex-Tata and now Microsoft professional. We are very happy to have you here, Kishore. Thank you. And from ProClime, we have Samrat. Samrat Sengupta joins us with 30 years of climate-oriented action under his belt. I was joking to him earlier about how he has gray hair enough to justify the space that he has been in. Samrat has been a champion from the grassroots level. His focus has been science-based, technology-based solutions at scale for India. He comes extremely well decorated and very well recognized in various circles. He joins ProClime. It's been now 2 months, and we're very, very delighted to have him. My personal agenda with today's session, gentlemen, is that you both represent two different worlds, but your intersection is on community. All the work you've done is for community. Samrat comes from the world of climate action, from science-based, technology-based solutions, and you come from the world of AI-based solutions for communities. There is still a gap to be made redundant, and for sustainable community energy resilience to emerge, AI is going to play a very large role, and that's what we're going to discuss today. In terms of the market, and so I want to take a moment to just construct the background of where we are today. And once we understand the background, then it becomes easy for Samrat to enter, and Kishore will take it from there. The first thing that we see for sure is that technology-based solutions versus nature-based solutions have a very direct impact on communities because they become measurable, they become scientific, they become scalable. Samrat, can you talk a little bit about the kind of technologies that have existed for energy resilience in communities? And can you give us a brief wrap-up of where the market is today?
Thanks for the nice introduction. And if we talk about technology and technology related to energy and its access, predominantly from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the primary source of energy was fossil, which was concentrated source of energy. And so the technology being developed, particularly taking that into reference. And we cannot really say the source as the technology was democratized. It was mainly concentrated source, which is centralized energy system. And still the world, maximum it is centralized energy system. But what good has happened with the advent of climate problem, and that's led to renewable energy push. I don't know it is by design or so, but it's happened that the technology being propagated in renewable form, particularly solar, wind, or whatever other technologies in biomass things, have certain quality of decentralized and modular applications. That has created a new dimension to talk about energy democratization, where community decides their own energy. There is a provision of decision of their own energy, both generation and usage and maintenance side. Though it has been mostly talked about in text and English, in practice, some parts of the world, particularly I want to address, it has started in 2010 and around in Bolivia. Later on, we have seen the LDCs and SIDS countries where the primary energy source was not so much prevalent with fossil, mainly diesel-based generator, but it was not a huge centralized grid system. There it has been penetrated well. But still, in countries like India, countries like where huge national grids are in operation, decentralized still run in a program in ministry, taking it to the grassroots level, taking it to the communities, still there are huge gaps. And how the AI can now bring on a more ready technological options into the table, which will enable the local communities to maximize their potential. That's a question maybe Kishore will like to address, and where there is a huge interventions where AI can be done. But it also, I need to highlight that if AI is being used for each and every decision making at the generation level, at the setup level, we may have a compromised of the local innovations. So that should be taken well into consideration, that we should not compromise the local innovation. Then we will be putting up northern driven technologies in an area which is may not be the best suitable. Like just one example, we are doing so many things on wind energy. Primarily, the technology is a cut, copy, paste, what has been that from wind to electricity. But India, traditionally, if you go back 150 years, 100 years, the whole Gangetic plain, which is the food bowl of India, was primarily driven by wind pump for agricultural irrigation purpose. And today, none of them exists because we have not created the institution capacities to give a support to multiply that. So now we should look back to proper integration of the local knowledge, local traditional technologies being addressed, because that's where the resilience comes from. If you are developing the local technologies, give them the technological supports, it may be more climate resilience rather than yes, I'm not arguing against the centralized system, but then we will be having a system which is be well balanced, well addressed, and well democratized. Thank you.
Thank you. That was quite a powerful opening statement, Samrat. Thank you. Kishore, would you like to follow that up with how is Microsoft seeing the AI play with education, and therefore how is Microsoft able to supplement the requirement in the market for science-based solutions to scale for data capture, like he was talking about local indigenous knowledge? How does that then become a holistic story with what you're building?
Sure, thank you. Good evening and thanks for the opportunity. So I lead CSR for Microsoft Corporation India Private Limited, and I also take care of the CER, Corporate Environment Responsibility, for the team. And when we look at Microsoft as an organization, we are basically an AI company. That is from at least 2016, 2015, we started our AI journey, and we have been evolving over the years. And from 2023, 24, we have been fully into AI. And even if you ask us as an organization over the next 5 years till 2030, most of our goals in education, sustainability, healthcare are all around leveraging artificial intelligence to bring that kind of social impact for the communities that are both vulnerable and underserved. I think that is how we operate. And coming back to the question on how is Microsoft looking at education as a play to supplement or kind of solve the problems that exist in building an resilient community or an energy resilient community, I would like to take one step back and then say, where does this education play stand in sustainability for Microsoft, especially in an AI world, and then go into what are we doing in education to complement the localized sustainability needs that are there in the community. That's how I will look at it. So from a sustainability point of view, as I already reiterated, we look at it at AI in the sustainability space, but we look at it at five broader pillars. How we look at it is, one, when we are looking at AI, how are we building solutions which are going to help in the sustainability where we are able to support the underserved. Like these are localized solutions, not necessarily a centralized one, but here from the community, build solutions on AI that are helping to solve the problem. This is like approach one for us. Second is, when you build solutions, it is not necessary that the solutions are going to work everywhere and what to say across geographies. So build the necessary infrastructure in the communities to make those solutions to work. That can be both physical infrastructure and also digital infrastructure. That is second. Third is, when you build solutions and when you kind of work on infrastructure, the common point that even you will hear across is AI is consuming a lot of energy. First, let Microsoft demonstrate that how are you able to run efficient systems with the limited use of energy. I think that is where our focus is more on, as an organization, demonstrate how are we using efficient or what say we are reducing consumption of this because it should not be like for solving a problem you create one more problem. So we would like to kind of make sure that the solution that is being provided is already demonstrating the kind of like what is a reduction in energy consumption levels, and the solution is going to be an enabler than kind of a force fit on the communities. I think that's the third thing which we do. Then fourth is, as we do this as a being a global organization and having a strong sustainability work across what to say globe in 170 plus countries, build governance and policy efforts with the local bodies to see to that things materialize. We build we, let's say, even we have worked on the blueprint for AI in country Microsoft to help the India to land, government of India to land, and especially now we are working on a blueprint for AI for sustainability also. I think that's the effort we do. And then when we do this all, like when you build solution, when you build necessary infrastructure, when you kind of what to say make demonstrations through both your products and your infrastructure, where you say that this is all going to help in resilient communities, etc., energy resilient communities, or you do policy advocacy effort, we also understand that we need to have necessary skill set and manpower to execute it for the country and also for the community. And that is our fifth pillar, which we called as build the workforce capacity. And that is where I think in what to say Microsoft, we drive two types of efforts in building the capacity or building the necessary skills of manpower to work on and technology driven what to say community. There are two types of effort we do, one at the vocational education level and at the higher education level. So what do we focus on vocational education level is to build manpower with all the green like skill sets with government bodies, including the sector skill council for green jobs. We want to say bodies like what to say the other bodies like, which are all in the skilling NSDC ecosystem or PMKVY, etc. So what do we do there is we prepare manpower for the new jobs that are getting created in India as an economy, in the sense like with India focusing on being like completely 100% energy resilient or like a renewable energy driven country by 2074, and also by 2047 in 100 years we want to have 50%. So when we kind of look at those goals that the government has set up and the kind of programs like each house 300 what say what energy we can megawatt energy we can generate, there are like programs like that, correct? So we want to kind of make sure that for all the new jobs that are getting created, how are we training people for the green jobs? How are we again partner with the people in that space, like let's say Shell or Lenovo, especially Shell for EV and Lenovo for circular economy. So what are we trying to do is for building that energy resilient community, for making sure all these applications and infrastructure and everything is being set up. We are trying to kind of build manpower by skilling them in vocational education institutions in collaboration with government, and we are trying to work with ecosystem players in that space so that the training results in jobs, and we are trying to kind of cash up on the incentive like programs that the governments are rolling out and getting these people what to say, available for the economy, in the sense like for all the jobs we are getting people trained. So that's like number one for us. Second is in the larger ecosystems, when due to higher education, what we try to do is every job, every role, like it again pertains to some of my role. Even in Microsoft, I need to demonstrate, reduce, even I need to kind of build infrastructure, I need to have people for policy. So that is where we focus on both training people for sustainability in workplace, like the kind of requirements that are there. So we train undergrads for programs where they are getting those kind of, with Inco Academy we have a strong program where it's a 6-month program where you have to work with them, you get certified, you get access to real-time projects, and then you kind of look at demonstrating how do we what to say, get ourselves ready for such jobs. And we also do reskilling and upskilling of manpower in organization also. So what we try to do is we are looking at, yes, we need to have that community. We understand that this is how we build an ecosystem of technology for that community, what is a community. And when we look at the manpower readiness, both for the new jobs that are getting created with vocational education as a focus area, we train them with government schemes, government money, government alignment with customers like Shell and Lenovo, and put people for the job roles so that they both get economic opportunity and also contribute to it. And also in the upper layer, where not only that community is empowered, but then the policy work happen, or the organizations that drive this are taken care. There we focus on undergrads, postgrads, existing workers. We try to kind of provide them with certification courses, credentials, everything on green skills which is needed for enabling and then what to say, making sure that sustainability at workplace is taken care. I think this is a broader approach. I pass here. I think we have much more to discuss now in this session, but this is how we look at it. Like, what is our structure and what do we do in skilling for this space? Yeah. Over.
Oh, that's fantastic. I really like the whole 5-point structured approach, the framework with which you have built this. I want to come back to the AI education, green skilling, green jobs. I want to come back to it. But before I do that, Kishore, I want to take your fourth point on governance and ESG and policy. And Samrat, you've been in this space for a long time. And from my understanding of the market, enterprises like Microsoft, at the end of the day, they may optimize for a lot of things. They may create a lot of, ecosystems for market making. However, government policy, governance, these play a very vital role in the way things accelerate and how fast as a country you transition into energy resilience, right? And I'm going back to your first point where you were talking about, the grid and the scale up and the institution based approach and the colonized approach towards energy utilization. Could you spend a couple of minutes to talk about what you think is required from a governance perspective, and therefore what we should, as market makers, what we should look to create as visibility and as accountability parameters so that we can have better governance around this? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good question to answer. What Kishore was just describing, or any big corporates in India who get into the bracket of CSR responsibilities, trying to do their best to support wherever they think it is either energy, or mainly in India, all the CSRs are driven by education, health, and gender issues. That's the major theme of the spending. And possibly I have seen today only the data that last financial year, the government, Indian corporates have spent around 18,000 crores in CSR initiative. And maximum of it is flown into the education system, which Kishore was talking about. Particularly, Kishore was emphasizing on the green transition or just transition aspects of it. Basically, there's a huge workforce we have who are primarily trained for fossil life. There will be no new coal mines will be coming up, but we have a huge workforce in India who are primarily by why their generations are active in coal mines, then now they have to shift to solar or any other technology-based option, even for electric vehicle. If you own a vehicle, you cannot just go to the next garage for any maintenance. It has to be particular skill-based people who can give it. So there is a huge possibilities on developing green transition or just transition as per the Europe talks about. But on CSR, this huge amount of fund which is going to the community, we need to have little bit of flexibility and a new approach to bring on, particularly having all CSR expenditure should have an environmental parameter or co-benefit in quantitative form should be addressed on. Then the moment you make it a quantitative, we know where the money goes, what's the result. And at a country level, when policymakers decide and analyze at a larger level data, it may create a new set of information which can give a better direction to the policy or regulation to be formed. And other aspects, every corporate do things for their own knowledge and for their own understanding. But we need a country-wise direction to few sets of, say, 5 sets of major parameters. Maybe a pool of CSR expenditure, like what some social stock exchange kind of concept. That can be more regularized. The intervention which is adherence to the country or the country establishment, their wish, where things should flow. Because earlier the case was environment or energy access was not part of a political agenda, but now we are in a decade where it has become a political agenda. So there should not be any clash between political agenda and actual social agenda. There is a more coherence is coming up. That may be a good approach to bring on, particularly like I'm a part of carbon market. So I can say that whatever Microsoft or Shell or BP or the large corporates spend, and if there is real emission reductions is happening, intangible benefit of that may be available to the people who are spending on it. That gives a extra carrot to the people to do actual environmental job through their CSR money. It's like 18,000 crores is quite a sum to be spent. So that may be another way of looking to it to make it more organized. And when we bringing a quantitative analysis part into it, making it accountable, and that may enhance the applicability of this huge amount of money towards the real betterment of the society.
That's actually an interesting take. And I think I want to come back to it at the end if we have more time. Because you're very right. I think when we speak about energy resilience and being able to produce surplus energy, and then you're able to trade it. Also, if you are able to deploy your CSR funds in such a way that you're making communities energy resilient, and if you're using artificial intelligence to track it, to measure it, to validate it, then the market making on that is very clear and robust, and therefore we can talk to governments because they are constantly looking and hearing and they are wanting participation. So I think we should circle back to this because it's a very interesting conversation, and even if we don't finish it this time, maybe we can do another round just to continue on this because it's very interesting and it's a very required conversation to have. Because with the work you are doing, Kishore, at Microsoft, what this makes is it takes the grassroots and makes it a tangible, palpable model to offer at scale as energy resilience, where even enterprises can partner and participate in with the CSR funds that they're already spending, which is 18,000 crores. Thank you for that, Samrat. That was really good. I'm going to come back to Kishore's point on education because I think that is going to play a very vital role in unlocking the energy resilience at a community level as much as in a national level. So when we typically take communities, Kishore, we have people who have been denied access to education, which is quality education, which empowers your career and therefore pulls you out of the situation that your community has faced generation after generation, and it formalizes the community. This is where AI comes in and can actually sprinkle its magic dust, right? So what I heard you say and even repeat again here is Microsoft focuses on two kinds of education. One is your vocational training and the other one is higher education training. Vocational training is the age group of 15 to 24, where you are giving them a formalized way of living. There in energy resilience, what I found really interesting is what you were telling me about how you are training ITI graduates to become technicians, maintenance officers, safety security agents, and from the grassroots up, looking and taking care of these AI enabled energy generator devices, scientific devices. And then on the other hand, you are looking at higher education, which is 25 to 35, where you are reskilling them, upskilling them with data sciences, being able to analyze data, measure data, validate data, visualize data, DMRV techniques. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're energizing the devices to become more energy efficient, more optimized, and to feed into the grid and to create energy resilience at scale. And that goes back to what Samrat was saying about if you have to develop a social energy exchange stock market, it would start there, right? So that would be the seed. Would you like to maybe walk us through situations where you had a POC, a proof of concept, and that proof of concept came alive at scale because of applying AI intelligence by using the kind of education that you're doing? Do you have any use case you can share in any form? Maybe the Lenovo case study you were telling me about, or the Shell, whichever sparks your...
Sure. I think I can take two different ways of looking at it. What I would like to say is, even I just looked at the polls that's going on and like which you have published, and then I understand the mood of the audience is being captured there, where it comes quite strongly that people would want to have localized solutions with ownership for energy, and also the focus on what to say microgrids for success and resilience. I think that is something which is coming out quite clearly in the polls. And I also understand that the biggest challenge that resilient, what to say, energy resilient will have currently is about the lack of enough infrastructure or reliable infrastructure, which is kind of making it like not possible to immediately latch up onto it. You have to build and things like that. So I would like to kind of take two basic examples, which also kind of, I would say, fixes on what AI can do on this, plus answer your question on what to say, what is this education can also bring there. So one, for example, when I look at it, the first part of when I was answering, I didn't focus more on the role of AI per se. I was keeping mostly on how do we look at sustainability. But one piece, like which I want to reiterate across the what to say canvas, which I was mentioning, AI is twined. It is part of it. Like we train people for jobs in green skills, both vocational education, higher education. We also make sure that they learn the application of AI in those roles. They understand the kind of power or the kind of feasibility or the kind of opportunity it enables, so that they are able to kind of take it one step away ahead of what is the curve, and then try to kind of be much more effective or efficient, or like that's the kind of focus we have normally. And coming back to this piece on what to say, how does this education help? Like one piece is like, first point is AI, we use AI for something. As an example is we maintain an overall data set of all the solar grids in India, solar panels in India. This is like something which is Microsoft has built as part of an application called Planetary Computer, where we have what to say India landscape or the world landscape. It's like a global landscape on humidity, global landscape on what to say precipitation. There is something called global landscape on what to say solar grids and solar panels, individual house, government driven. Like this is like an open data available for anyone and everywhere. And like this is like one of the easiest and simple way to explain how any individual community or a government or an what to say society or even a non-profit can use that information and then kind of understand what is the infrastructure challenge that they have, which is the kind of nearest what to say solar grid and renewable energy that is there, what is the kind of potential my geography has, and what can I do with the youth in my ecosystem to kind of latch upon to the job opportunities that are getting created for that installment, plus also how can I kind of use it to build my own local community driven resilience, both like renewable solar resilience driven in my local community. I'm just linking to the results of the poll. Like you want to do that, and you also mean that you don't have infrastructure and you are having not a reliable infrastructure. Now look at AI applications which are able to give you that data. They are giving you that information on how solar grids are available across the globe. They are giving it at the access of open data. Everyone can access it. You can be a government, you can be a community, and you can be even a society or a non-profit social enterprise. But take that information, take the decision, understand the job opportunities that it creates, understand the infrastructure requirements or challenges that are there. Now map it up and then build a program or build with someone. You, if you are a non-profit, you go and pitch it to a corporate. If you are a government, you act on it. If you are a local body, then you pool money and then work on it, but then define a program. One aspect of it. Second is what we also try to do in our skilling programs, which are both vocational education and higher education, is we try to kind of not only create skilling for the job roles which are getting generated, we also skill and create jobs. In the sense, like for example, when we say that green skills, we understand that data analysis, data measurement, data visualization are all the top necessary skill sets needed for green jobs. We get that. Broadly, we keep it at that. We don't say whether it needs to be solar panel installer or it needs to be a wind turbine technician. These are like these are outcomes. But we broadly keep it at what is needed, what is there, and in which community is it needed. Can we even create new jobs? Like what we are trying to also do is, now that take the same example, you got to know that I am in a plane or in a geography where there is lot of heat, but I do not have any nearby seat or to say panels. I also have an energy problem with me, and I also have a lot of youth. You can always reach up to Microsoft and then say, can you do a skilling program where my youth are trained using AI, where I will also not get them skilled for the solar panel installer where you have to procure and do, but I also create new job opportunities using AI where I say, can you now map this geography and enrich the data set? Can you now install new things and then try to kind of add that data back to the planetary computer? Can you improve the efficiency of the data set that is available to the government? These are actually new jobs that are getting created even though you don't have the solar panel installment or capacity or feasibility, but AI is creating a job in the energy resilient. You are still contributing to energy resilient where these models are all generating jobs and you are still getting it. So we skill them, we let them know this kind of job opportunity exists. We empower the local non-profit or the community to now create a cohort of say the people in that age group of 18 to 25, 20 member cohort in this next 5 villages. Now please get started with this job. I will pay you 15,000, 20,000, contribute to the data set, contribute to the efficiency, be that change agent who is getting to know about that information. Now you earn, now you again get that government schemes, you start installing, you become your solar panel installer for second round of revenue also from the regular roles that are offered to you. You become that leader because there is nothing in your geography, because you are the one who is going to get this all started, and in the meantime understand the energy efficiency problems that exist in your infra and then work with others to kind of get the infrastructure built also. So what I'm trying to give you here is an what is a combination of what actually is a problem, what actually is a skilling program can do, what actually a CSR investment can drive for it, and what AI enabled solutions can be that spine or like that starting point that led to this change in that community, and that helped solve both the creation of local community empowerment, that also led to job creation, that also led to skilling, and that which is resulting in job creation, and also led to that what to say infrastructure that you needed for a renewable resilient local ecosystem. So what I'm trying to, this is like just one combination. So what I was trying is using AI solutions, using AI applications, and then skilling on AI driven models where you are both giving skilling for green job but also giving skilling for AI enabled green job is actually an added advantage, and it helps you to kind of, now the point is you reached your final goal one step faster. Like without this also you would have reached. You would have got solar panel installed in your village. You would have got to know that this is there. You would have got to know that this is a kind of requirement. But I still added in a place where you would have earned 500 rupee, I made you earn 600 rupee. In a place where you would have done this work after 1.5 years, I have made you to do it in, let's say, 6 months. I'm just broad parameters. I'm not going by it, but I'm just to kind of get the context land well. So that's the way in which AI skilling and AI solution and AI infrastructure in a traditional green ecosystem will help in bringing your energy resilient community. So I just pass here. I hope I could convey this combination of things easily, or you would able to get that. But over to you back this.
That was really very helpful. Thank you, because it gave us a very nice, tight picture. And I want to take a minute to talk about how we ourselves have deployed microgrids for energy resilience in communities as ProClime. We do a lot of knowledge and technology transfer to communities by working with NGOs, because NGOs, we have discussed this, Kishore, that NGOs come in with the intent and they come in with the manpower, but they do not come in with the knowledge and the know-how of how to actually implement. We support them. We've done this in the past. I think having an AI spine to all of these operations let a lot of pieces click together. So we are able to see value in what you're talking about. Another area that is a key area of focus internally inside ProClime is and has always been, from wind energy to hydro. We have had focus. Hydro is a big focus for us. And we are currently looking at increasing pump storage in existing hydro projects, as well as returning carbon credits from these projects. How does Microsoft giving AI-enabled data visualization, data-based measurement techniques in a hydropower setup?
Okay.
How does that transform the landscape? Because there are a lot of variables, but there is also a lot of control systems that go in. How does it work within a hydro space? The second lead-up question to this is, what is the traction you are seeing in battery storage? So we spoke about photovoltaic cells, we spoke about wind turbine energy. There are times when there are layovers and then there are productive times. Battery storage will ensure that there is smooth, continuous flow for energy resilience. What are the kind of systemic requirements from an AI perspective, and how do your workforce work with each other? So if someone is trained technically to take care of the infrastructure and someone is trained on data set interpretation or creation, how do you get the two to work? And if you could give us examples with hydro as a bedrock, or pump storage for us is where we look at it, or battery storage, anything, whatever works. If you can take that from there, I'd be very interested to hear.
Sure. I think I'll share two examples again. Might be like, but then finally I will merge them. I think that way you will finally end up in that ecosystem. I think that's how I go about it. The role of AI, when you apply it, I think the first and foremost role AI can bring is always in visualization of the data in the ground. Like, it needs a strong collection, and those are all the people in the fields. That can be like non-profit agencies or the communities by themselves, and then it needs a strong collection effort. And AI also plays a role in speeding up the collection. So it's not like that you need to kind of collect all the data, error-prone data. Like, AI still plays a lot of role there. Like, AI helps in getting data from your written things to immediate database. It makes sure that errors are already corrected. We have a lot of applications for that also on OCR, without OCR, image processing. There are a lot of it. Like, first point is, for me, in energy systems, the role of artificial intelligence is first to visualize what is there in the ground. So that because of the vastness of the ecosystem and also the kind of nature in which it is there across, and sometimes you need it at different level, getting an first and foremost view of the energy ecosystem or the ecosystem by itself, getting them visualized is the first step. And that is where most of the efforts go. Once you have that visualization of what is there, then you also get an understanding of what are all the parameters at play that are defining the variations in the ecosystem. In the sense, like if there can be, if you ask me as hydro, you keep it as water body, you keep it as a, city planning, you keep it as any system. You always need to kind of look at what are all the parameters at play that is kind of giving you the variations and the kind of reasons. Like let's say, is it infra, like in the previous example when they say infra is not available, so like because of what is happening, that's the second thing. So you need to kind of have that. Third parameter is the historic variations of the parameters. Like in the sense, like because the models are now going to predict, analyze, guide, tell what is the step or action that you need to do based on the historic variations of those parameters, and also the kind of frequency of the parameters, like importance of those parameters per se. So what I'm trying to convey is the, what to say, when you have a model on any of this ecosystem apply, you first need to kind of have people who are going to measure it. They are directly economic opportunities. You need to have applications which fasten and hasten and also increase the accuracy of the measurement. These are like innovations that you have to do to get them all in the ground. Microsoft mostly works there. We do have a lot of applications. And next is you visualize it and make it available. So that's the, like people who are in the ground or that data collection team. People who are visualizing are the, like the other team which you ask. Like you also ask how do they interact with each other. Correct. So then you have the data visualization. The data visualization team's role is again to kind of further work on all the parameters so that they again check with the ground team to kind of like again they interact with them for all these parameters historically what is going on a day-to-day basis, what is going on. Then they collect it all and then feed it into the model. Now they have to kind of define multiple models. It can be large LLMs, large learning models. It can also be like slow learning models, small learning models. They try to kind of provide results using that models. In the sense, kind of, for example, I take one application where I have something called AI for resilient cities, where whenever there is earthquake or forest fire or when there is like heat wave or floods, I have a model that runs for an individual household level and tries to tell what it means for that household. That household can be of an urban slum dweller, or it can be a household for a rural village person who is near the forest. It can be of an household in a slopy Uttarakhand terrain where he is more vulnerable to what to say earthquake. For individual household, if something happens in any of these disasters that I meant, what it actually means to them. This information based on all this data that is collected, all these parameters that are being fed, and the model that runs using those frequency and the kind of what to say prehistoric data, and also the information that comes from the meteorological department, it tries to convey to them, hey, you are what to say staying in a house that is made of wood, which sorry mud, that has a tarpaulin as its cover, and which is at a geography of say 300 meters from the water body here, and then you are now going to have an experience of 100 centimeter rainfall as per the meteorological department, which means this for your house, which means you have to go to this location for your immediate rescue, which means this after this much time water will recede, and when water recedes this kind of challenges may happen for your community, and this is what you have to do. Now look at it, this information is being made available to you in your smartphone, in your WhatsApp message. Like the moment you hear about it in the news that there is going to be a cyclone tomorrow, or you get to know about a monsoon, and all the systems are interconnected and model runs, by evening you get to know, and you are either evacuated or you are making measures to solidify your things, or you are taking your what to say belongings to the place of safety, and then you try to kind of take it. This is like for a this information, if it is again made available to an individual person, is one level of resilience. If this information is made available to the city planning officials, like to say here is your red zone, here is your orange zone, here is your green zone, even in red zone these are the things which are going to have this kind of impact. Now you please swing into action in the next 1 hour to kind of look at it and then act on it and then kind of move it. That is like another level of resilience. Now you apply the same logic to your hydro power station, in terms of like now you have an hydropower station running on ground this much year old near a what to say hill station, and operating at this level with this much amount of water coming in, and you have people who are measuring this data, who are feeding into the data, and then who are visualizing it, who are running based on the information and giving back knowledge both to people in the downstream, people who are on the solidity or the say strength of the dam, people on the kind of energy that they generate, because many times, with like people suddenly they would not be generating a hydropower for a long time, then suddenly dams fill, they let go the water, both the hydropower potential is also lost, downstream is also impacted by the sudden flow of water. So going by the parameters and other things which are available now, linking back to your planetary computers, precipitation and humidity link, now you are able to know that what is going to come. Now you start generating energy well in advance so that you keep your dams. So that this is all being done. Again, I repeat from the same example earlier. This is all currently being done, but AI enables you to do it with much more, what to say, efficiency, increase the accuracy, we enable the wastage is reduced, or like kind of, what to say, the kind of losses are reduced, because at the end of the day, this kind of savings at each space is what is going to consolidate together and make your community and resilient. Right? It's like everyone says that, like everyone has grit, everyone has it's that problems and the kind of the challenges in the problem that need to be resolved. So to kind of conclude, this is how a model works, and I have taken just two examples. I know I didn't exactly answer your question, but I still try to kind of link it in a sexual way where I think that both the learners and like the audiences are able to understand what type of work AI can do in this kind of ecosystems, and how again skilling people for all these things. Again, I come back to the same point of skilling. To do this all, then you understand so much. Like to align with Samrat, if so much jobs are going to get created, and if AI is going to do this kind of things for you, then why not get people trained on that AI-enabled sustainability job roles and make them all available in places in all these channels which I meant, in the ground, at the top, and then kind of come out to say get them enabled. And the final point, how do they link with each other? It's like all through the communication tools. Actually, when I tried answering them, you already know that information is passing to tools to that system, and whatever they are generating is immediately passing to the ground. And the ground level people are like, these are a lot of new warriors who are in the ground, who are kind of cross verifying. Like the information is passed, then again AI now information has to be fed back. It's called ground truthing. Did it happen that way? Did it capture it well? Were you safeguarded? Did you go there? So that more and more information. So it's like a cycling. You send, it produces, it comes back, you pass on, you hear it, then again you send. So you need to have a model, you need to have a ground level personnel, you need to have the communication systems, you need to have a local, what to say, partner and player at play, and you also need to have government who are also going to work on it to a larger level scale of it. Then you can save so much on this, and I want to make sure if that gets saved and more kind of things get spread. And ideally, for doing all this, one again basic line is AI should be saving more than this. It shouldn't be like for doing all this you have invested on what is an AI ecosystem which is spending more than this savings. So it's like a balance is that it should be less than what is being saved here. So that means then usage of AI is justified, and that's what Microsoft is always focusing on. Thank you.
Fantastic. Before we close out for questions, I just have one question for both of you to finish my round of questioning, and I'm going to bring it back to what Samrat started with. So Samrat, you had said in the beginning that energy has been colonized, and so the fossil fuel industry is the past that we know, and we are transitioning out of it, right? So if we know a fossil fueled reality from the past, what does an energy resilient future powered by AI look like for communities? But I'd like you to go first, and I'd like Kishore to go next, and then we'll open for questions. We already have 2 questions. I'd like your vision, given that this is possible. I'd like your vision. How will that look? Is it your energy stock exchange? What will that look like?
It's a very difficult question to respond because we are already hosted in a particular developmental model where consumptions define the level of development you are. Your GDP rate is define the development, and when we are talking about climate or environment, that is what it is counterproductive, because due to that consumptive development model, you are overconsumption happening, and that leads to ecosystem carrying capacity being breached, and when the disaster happened. Taking that into consideration, we cannot just say we have to just transform. So that's why energy transition is happening. We are slowly trying to get from a fossil fuel driven centralized system in a system which partially can be fed locally. And particularly the present renewable energy technologies had that modular nature to make it even at 2000 megawatts solar power plant is there. Even in your rooftop, you have a 2 kilowatt power plant, and all can be synchronized. Base that we have a grid system that is well technically developed to adapt to the variability, along with a AI driven, what Kishore was talking about, AI driven control system, demand supply control system, which will means make the system efficient. It should not produce when there is no demand. It should not go blackout when there is maximum demand. So energy storage is vital in this transition. And doing effective storage, either it is behind the meter battery storage or large scale energy storage in other form, though there are a lot of discussions happen which particular technology is suitable. I think we should not get into technological discussion at this moment. Proper energy storage system which can maximize the usage of the renewable energy because of its variability nature, that will make our energy system resilient to any certain impact. Not always the disaster mitigation which Kishore was talking about, but long-term impact like climate variability. Also, we can make our communities resilient to a system which will give them efficient economic supply of basic commercial energy to sustain a minimum lifestyle. So immediately we cannot talk about that it should be all village-based economy with decentralized system, which might be ideal for environmental footprint discussion, because a person like myself has been born and brought up in a village. I came to a city to presently my environmental footprint may have 100 times more now. And even on the financial footprint, the same level or quality of life a village can be given in 2000 rupees cannot be given in a one city in 2 lakh rupees. Quality of life definition is very important. It always should not be in financial parameters of income. That's where we have done the historical blunder. Possibly we will be slowly trying to minimize the blunder that all ecosystem services we are somehow going to measure in a financial terms, though I don't know how the economists will address it. A coal which is lying on the ground for thousands or millions of years to form the coal, the biomass, which is lying underground on a particular pressure temperature. And we are in a day extracting it and using it without giving the required ecosystem service evaluation. So our all systems on fossil was inefficient because we are getting 100 rupees product at a 1 rupee value. So we haven't thought about the efficiency. With renewable, considering it's a dilute form of energy, now efficiency again come back as a mainstream. That's one good aspect. And we are just very beginning of our journey towards this transformation, because though we are aware that environmental problem is happening in 1960s also, we are aware in 70s, first time Rio happens. But last 30 years, we are only played in English. Possibly last 5 years, there is something happening on ground. The moment we find out, or the world find out, oh, money cannot save you. The West or the North has find out, okay, they have the money power, but they are possibly the most vulnerable. The Europe heat wave shows them that even in 36-degree temperature, they have hundreds of people died because their architecture is not suitable to live in that temperature in France. So that perception has helped to make a more holistic approach, not it is your problem, not my problem kind of a things. And possibly in next 25 years, we will be having a new world which will be talking about efficient use of energy. We cannot say we no to fossil at this moment, at least for next 50 years. By end of the century, things may happen when superconductor will develop, and we have 0% wastage in transformation and from storage to it in power kind of thing. That will take some time, but we are in a right form, and particularly when the financial sector, they have last 5 years talking about ESG and its scores for one of the major parameter to assess a investment risks. That is mobilizing a huge lot. Why Microsoft is so much interested in environment? Because a high ESG score will help them to get a more cheap finance, because you are high score in ESG means your investment is risk minimized. So that kind of new activism in the finance sector, and it will go through, and it will really address the internalization of the environmental attributes into the overall capitalist economic model. Yeah.
I think I will agree and align completely 100% with what Samrat mentioned. And I would only add a couple more smaller points, not to kind of stretch it, because he has holistically covered what it would look like. I would say, focus being an AI company in this ecosystem play to ensure the kind of outcome that you are envisaging is one, AI should be having that tokens per watt per dollar should be at its efficient best. Like in the sense, like as AI gets enhanced, AI gets improvised, as AI gets various other players like DeepSeek, OpenAI, even Google, everyone coming into play, and various models are getting generated. I think my first goal in this ideal ecosystem to help achieve what Samrat mentioned, AI should be at its efficient best for tokens per watt per dollar. Number one for me. Second is I need to make sure that the players, especially the corporates who are in this play, let's say even in Tata distributes a power, if they have access to this kind of ecosystem that I mentioned, who knows, in this household at this summer for this kind of temperature, if temperature will go by so many degrees and I need to ensure this much power will go there, which means they get that readily available and they pass. Like transmission loss is all fine, but all these players who are contributing to it are all having access to these kind of information in advance before deployment, in their strategy, in their deployment, in their designing and everywhere. That in return is all contribute, because appliances, energy, the kind of infra, like your own community, like everything that you build on, these all contribute, and these are all coming from various players who are all the corporate organizations who are lending to it. If they are all using this knowledge and they are all aware of it and they are all building such infra tools and everything in such way that is going to contribute to it, then ideally automatically further it comes down, then we are again contributing more, because there is only a 80% or 60%, I don't want to even put percent, that community does, then equivalently all the players contributing to also should be there. And then I feel if AI is able to do it, and if the companies and all of them are able to adopt it, and if Microsoft is able to kind of lead it, nothing better than that, then I feel the goal of this segment of work is achieved, to be honest.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kishore. There are a lot of questions that have come in. I have flagged off all of them to you because they are tagged mostly to you.
Sure.
I was thinking that, the last question that's come in from Sumuka.
Okay.
This is a very interesting question, and I would like you to answer it in a little more detail, because he runs an interesting startup. Samrat, you would be interested to know too. So basically, his startup is, he does two things. One is indigenous seed banking, commodity trade. One, so that farmers can exchange seed and check for resilience. Second, so while energy resilience is what we're talking about, he's talking about food resilience, right? That's his area of expertise. Second, that he's building is farming as a service.
Yeah.
Now his question is a very direct to implementation question. So if you could take a few minutes, I have sent it to you separately on message.
If you can read it, I'm just trying to kind of figure it out. If you can just go.
How can Microsoft and its AI, IoT, or sustainability platforms support startups that are building intelligent workflows and systems using AI to implement and scale regenerative ecosystem models with a strong focus on energy resilience?
Sure.
This includes initiatives like land regeneration, food forests, water and energy optimization, and natural building systems. What existing programs, cloud tools, or incentives are available to help such climate tech startups automate, deploy at scale?
Sure. I think I'll give three answers, three avenues from Microsoft, which will benefit this question. One, at Microsoft India level, under the pillar called AI Innovation for Social Impact, one of the focus for us is to help promote or help support startups from tier 2, tier 3 towns, build on AI, and enable that we are able to kind of provide them with funds, the necessary tools, the technology, computing capacities, so that they are able to kind of work on AI and then do that. So that's called an Unnati AI Accelerator program that we are doing in partnership with the IIT Delhi. And currently applications are open till 30th June for this fiscal. Every year we choose 15 startups, and we try to kind of work with them both, not on scaling them for that anyhow we will do, but the focus is more on helping them to use AI and then kind of work on all these areas like land regeneration, food forest, energy optimization. Like you have a cause and you have an idea and you want to kind of leverage AI power from us and also kind of solve it and then grow further on it. It's available, number one. Number two, Microsoft every year drives the Climate Innovation Fund from the US. Like it's always available every year on around December, you will have their applications open, and by Jan, they kind of select people and then they kind of provide funding, and they also kind of provide you all the opportunities to kind of build on climate resilient local applications. So please do go through them. I may always share the links post this call to you, Teresa. You can send to the audiences. That's second. That's like Microsoft Climate Innovation Fund. Third is we also have something called Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact. That's a program especially for all the startups like who are working in like energy, sustainability, education, and also healthcare. I think that's the space where we work. This is like an ongoing program. People can always, every year we work with the Accenture and couple more partners where we seek nomination. We take around 25 startups every year, and then we try to kind of work with them on not necessarily using AI. It is overall building tech-based solutions and other aspects which you are going to kind of grow up. So there are bodies who have been working on rejuvenation of rivers in Indonesia, people who are working on resilient fishing in India, like community. So we try to kind of work on like all these solutions which we will provide them with the compute capacity. We also provide them with data science experts. We also provide them with the kind of guidance. So my answer is these three are readily available through their engagements. We also had something called Planetary Computer or AI for Earth grant, but that is stopped now after 5 years of deployment from 2018 to 2023. But it will come in a new avatar soon, in the sense like we had it as Planetary Computer grant last year in 2024. As of now, we are reworking on it because as part of the grant, we created around 124 solutions with some 60 plus in India by itself. We are trying to kind of see how can you make them all move to that next level of from a solution to a startup. So that's a kind of a problem at our hand where we need to grow them and make them sustain and look at it. So that's where we have passed them, but that's the other program also. And I hope this gives an avenues, at least defined avenues which are there from Microsoft, and these are all driven by both the corporate social responsibility team and sustainability team. Both these teams drive them. I belong to the CSR team, but I also have my colleagues from sustainability team, and since my area of work is on AI for social impact, so I do know about them, and I'm just pitching on their behalf. You can always go through them. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. The second question that we have is from Krutika Ishwaran. She says, have you encountered challenges when interacting with communities that are uncomfortable transitioning to digital solutions, such as a digital divide? How do you encourage them to adopt? The second part of the question is, what is your perspective on energy efficient solutions, which is sustainable AI?
Sure. I think every community you will have that challenge when you go there. It's very simple as that. And more than anything, it is not top-down approach. It is like even though finally we are centralizing them and then getting it integrated into government and working with others to kind of replicate, but the solution always generated from the ground. The sense like the need, Microsoft's approach is always bottom to top. In the sense, what we understand as our strength in always building energy resilient solutions or anything using AI for communities, first hear from the community, what is the need of the community, understand the players who are able to solve it at a certain level in the community, like an organization like a Seeds or a ProClime or anyone. Like, I know you might be doing better than that, but I'm just trying to give some examples to kind of relate to where it's who does that. Then bring them both to kind of understand what is that we can do for you to make the challenges that are existing in your solution solved through AI. What can we do using our CSR and CR funds to build the infrastructure? I link back to the first point on that five role. And then what can I do on building advocacy and other things to take it to the government and bring my, 2,000, 3,000 plus customers to come and contribute to it? And what is needed from me to skill your manpower and your community players who can kind of take this and then build on it and then deploy it to be successful? So ideally, there is no community who is saying, okay, if you are bringing a problem, your solution, bring it and we will accept it. Nobody will say that. And mostly, no, we also don't go with any ready-made solution to anyone. So there is no scope of someone saying yes or no. It is always from the ground we take. Go ahead, Samrat. I think you wanted to add on there, please. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure. Means you answered it from a very technical perspective of AI. Just I want to highlight that yes, there will be challenges because we as a human means we have an inertia for any changes.
Right.
But we can two particular example we can take the smartphone, and the second is UPI. Nobody has pushed it. It has organically within a couple of years, particularly the UPI. Even before COVID, the percentage of usage, and after COVID, the percentage of usage, it's jumped 3 times more. And now it is within 5 years, it is almost covering our 90% of all small transactions. So this has happened in UPI. We have if it's talked about that, how can a country who doesn't have 70% of its literacy can use smartphone? But we have seen it is in usage. So basically, cost benefit analysis, if it is positive and it is addressing the convenience, everything will get adopted. Similarly, the digital solutions also.
And I also same applies to AI also. Like in the sense currently, like people keep telling, is AI going to replace job? Is AI going to kind of change things? Am I going to lose job? Is it going to like? I always say the same thing was there when computer was coming in 90s. Now everyone is wanting to learn computers. Like there is no role which is done without computer, and everyone will learn computer. Don't even go to computer. Think about knife. Knife can be used to do many things. Knife can be used to harm yourself. Knife can be used to cook, get things done in the kitchen also. So it is all that the convenience and the kind of positive side of it. And if you are convinced on it, and every technology will be consumed, and everything in our, we need not put brand to it and say it's AI. It is, you can apply it to any day-to-day thing that is in front of you, and the logic is same. That's the only point which I want to drive additionally.
Fantastic. And on that, I want to come to the last question, which is the first question in the Q&A. But I think it wraps it up nicely. And it seems to be a question from ProClime, one of ProClimers to Kishore, which is, while optimism around AI being the bridge for energy and community resilience is a positive note, how would geopolitical agenda undermine its capacity? How do we approach this? I think it's a nice takeoff from the last point on it being a double-edged sword from a community and an adoption at an individual level. But how does this work when you're talking geopolitics and country level? How does that work?
Sure. I think one of the area which I always look at it being like, at least from a Microsoft point of view, how I approach it, because I am an American company doing in business in India, and where I am trying to kind of build solutions for India. And I try to kind of go and pitch it with the government always to kind of look at it. So first is always solution or community first. To be clear about where am I pitching, who am I pitching, where is the genesis of it. I'm not building an American product which works well in Tennessee. I'm going to put here. No, it's most of like the approach first and foremost in this engagement is always this problem exists in your community, which I have determined with your local community. I am not like, and this is something which your governments are focusing on, and this is a solution which is like similar to what Samrat was saying some time back, the wind pumps which were there earlier and which are not there, which they said, and I am trying to kind of build on it, and I am reviving. That's like approach number one. Without that, you cannot manage a deployment by a, there is no shift and lift and shift kind of combination. You cannot do that. That's number one for me. Number two is also to kind of not always be fixated on like this application will remain in US, these applications are going to be on Microsoft Cloud. I don't think, like, at the end of the day, being a CSR and the CR teams, my organization has given us the liberty and the kind of focus to kind of understand and align with government on both their digital sovereignty needs and the kind of critical infrastructure requirement they have, and their need to build their own clouds and the kind of data centers they want to have it in the country, and they want to kind of, so we always look at what is it that you would want to build this on using our expertise. I think that's my approach to it. Even in India, might be my colleagues otherwise also do that. It's not that, and in the process, I am able to establish that Azure, based out of India and having our services, is meeting your requirement. Then I feel fine that this is what I have achieved as a business, or like it's a kind of a CSR goal. But if otherwise I have been able to give you the capacity to do it, because like Microsoft is part of the digital cloud government is building. There is a lot more than 100 plus experts who are going daily, day in and out, not for anything on Microsoft business, but to make India build their cloud and then kind of give the guidance. I think that's the way an organization being insensible and wanting to kind of look at based on geopolitical requirements, focus on it. In the sense, because I do know that Microsoft focuses on supporting other geographies in some other format, but I cannot bring those examples here and then kind of do an a business or kind of an, because I'm not first of all in business, but more than that, when I do this solution building, I cannot put that way that then the purpose is defeated by itself. Then I think I cannot say this is what is happening in Ukraine, this is how we support Russia war, and this model worked well in, let's say, Egypt. That model will never work. Like, and that is not the way in which you can maneuver this geopolitical tensions and then land these kind of solution. Always go from the ground, local first, and always go with that open mindedness of building the capacity next. And through the process, if you are able to establish that your infra and solution and everything are both dependable, and they are also the best in kind, and are also meeting all the compliance and regulatory requirements, then pitch it and host it on the Microsoft solutions. I think that's how I look at it, and I hope I answered the aspect in which it was asked. And yeah, thank you for this question.
Thank you. I think we've had a 15-minute spillover from the time that we planned, but we have still everybody staying on the call. I think it's been a great testimony of how good this conversation was. I want to thank both you, Kishore, and you, Samrat, for making this discussion extremely insightful, bringing all your experience to bear, and speaking with a level of passion and commitment that gives everybody an assurance, right, that we are heading in the right direction, and together we can make the change that we want to see. I would only want to ask as a closing remark, what should be a continuation from this conversation point? What should we have as the next webinar? If either of you has a view on it, how can we continue this conversation? How can we develop on what we're doing? Because energy resilience in communities is a very vital aspect for a country's energy resilience, right? And we were speaking about Europe, for example. It has a trickle over and a trickle top down and a bottom up effect as well. So any last thoughts on what the next conversation should be?
Sure. I think we only brought in as an AI company what AI can do in this space as an, I would say, technology, and mostly we centered it around that area currently. There are many other aspects or many other components, not necessarily technology, processes, methodologies. Finally, your goal is to have an energy resilient community. So my opinion is, one, build upon the outcomes of this threat. Two, bring upon the various parameters that can all contribute to your final, that ideal solution. Like, that's the other aspect of it. So one, take from this what is needed as an extension of this, hear from the learners, and then narrow it down, do more focused group discussions on those efforts from here, but also bring other pieces which are all equivalently contributing, where might be Microsoft is not fully focused on, but then other things which are also there. Then try to kind of cull things from there also. Let's say you have a 5 series episodes on 5 different pieces, and you have 5 different outcomes coming on it, and then have one combined further effort where the outcomes of all of them are told to people, and then you again bring in solutioning out of it. So for all the learners who attend all the 4 or 5 and then finally come to the final, they are all contributing to a final one end-to-end kind of a framework, or a kind of a document, or kind of an even an approach which is available in handy, which they go back, and if they individually attempt at it, they at least are able to kind of take a stab on it, look at it from there, and they're able to kind of build further. Because I know the purpose is to kind of learn and then apply it in whatever we are doing. And if you are able to kind of finally take it to a closure, a formal closure, with something tangible handed over to everyone to land what you intended, that would be a good concrete combination of efforts, is my view. I give it to Samrat for his input. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm gonna just remind my team to ask, actually everybody who's listening in, there is a document from Microsoft on how to accelerate your sustainability practices using AI. It is a document that Kishore has shared with us. If you can send in your email IDs, we will send that to you. From ProClime, we will share with you, for anybody who wants it, how we have created and implemented a microgrid project for solar energy resilience in a community in Hyderabad, near Hyderabad. We can share that with you, but please write to our team and ask us for the documents, and we'll share that on a use case basis. Minza, I am responding to you. Please send me your mail ID, and also refer to what Kishore was telling us earlier when he was addressing Sumika's question.
I can also share the Unnati Accelerator link to you. Please do share with them so that they can apply for it. Absolutely. Yeah. The Climate Innovation Fund, I think all those open opportunities, I do send it. Please, yeah, I think
I'll ask for all that, and we will send it to people who want it. Absolutely. Thank you, Kishore. And Samrat, any closing remarks?
Not really on the context of energy, but we can think of multiplying it in all other sources: energy, water, forest, land, and then come out with good case studies for people to accept with every aspects.
Fantastic. I think that's a great idea. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kishore. It's been a pleasure. And we know you're a busy man, so thank you for your time. Thank you. Good night, good evening. Cheers.
Bye. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.